Hello and welcome to Shelf Life. I'm Kimberly Dykman, and as we always promise, we bring you real people with real purpose and real perspective. And what that means to you folks out there is essentially bringing you the pulse of literature that's hitting the shelves today and hopefully ending up on your nightstand. And the gentleman joining me today was a successful musician turned novelist. He's an incredible storyteller, and he's here to share with us his first published novel, Story of the Sand. Please join me in welcoming Mark Pickering.
Hey,
how you doing?
how
Big
are
old
you?
shake on that. I'm glad you made it here in one piece.
I don't know how successful a musician I was.
Oh, stop.
Must admit that.
So let's dive into Story of the Sand. How did that come about? Because it sounds like the story found you.
I had interviewed several veterans from World War II to Vietnam, the Gulf War, and the current Iraqi and Afghanistan conflicts. I say I interviewed them when really I encountered them. I made their acquaintance very casually, and that grew, and I met more and more people. And the more I heard their stories, the more they inspired me to write a novel about returning home and trying to readjust to American society and readjust to society in general. But these are not retellings of their stories. These are this is a novel. I rely a lot on my imagination, but their emotions are heavily injected into this novel.
I mean, the story itself is fantastic, but
Thank you.
The characters, you've got Samson, you've got David, you've got Tommy and
Sheila, Mary.
Did they just kind of percolate up from this marrying of the people that you've met, the folks in your life, the folks you've interviewed?
They just form on their own, and their attributes form on their own. And when I write a line that says something so strong about a character, I know, okay, well, I got to back that up, and I got to explain more and more about it. Mm-hmm. It's really fascinating to me. That's why I love it so much. That's why I love writing, because I'll write something, I'll just write something, and then that totally changes the dynamic. It could be one sentence, it could be one word, and it changes the dynamic of the novel. And there, it becomes a whole other knot I have to untie.
So can you give us a little synopsis of the story itself?
Yeah, well,
Samson showing up and being in the woods.
Yeah, Samson Roy is one of the main characters, and his Humvee was blown up in Iraq, and he was the only survivor. He went to Iraq very cocky. He went to Iraq with a lot of ideas of it's just going to be glory. His father, in fact, instilled that into him, and his father was never in war, but his Samson's grandfather was. And he wanted to go to war, but he couldn't. So he told Samson, "You're going to war." Samson thought, "All right, I'm going to war." But he comes back and he realizes war is not just this wonderful John Wayne experience. There's a lot of pain there. I have a tremendous amount of respect for veterans, and all of them have told me, this is no fun. This is horrible. War should only be conducted when it has to be. So Samson comes back and he doesn't know who he is anymore. So therefore, he drowns himself in liquor. He doesn't pay attention to his wife anymore at all, so she leaves him, and then he goes in the woods for 9 months, where he's visited by the ghost of David Grouchy Tree, who lost his leg in Iraq and died from an infection at home. David is incredibly happy to be alive when he was alive, and he really wants to be alive again, and Samson doesn't. David tries to convince him that you need to get back into life because life is a gift.
Exactly.
And I don't have it anymore, you have it. Samson does, but it's an incredible struggle because he doesn't know society anymore. Society doesn't understand him.
I wonder, did the vets, in interviewing them, did it prompt you to look into some statistics on how people are received and how that further impacts their psyche?
Yeah, I mean, I as far as this war is concerned, 1/3 of Iraqi veterans will suffer from serious mental problems. Not even speaking of their physical problems. 1/9 of Afghanistani veterans will suffer from severe mental disorder, post-traumatic or otherwise. 25% of the people on the streets today are homeless. Are veterans. 25% of the homeless are veterans. And I was talking to a guy on the radio the other day, and he's like, well, here in Sioux Falls, it's 30%. And it's like, this is another aspect of it, because Samson inevitably becomes homeless.
Yeah, he does.
He lives in the woods. He eventually gets to live at a bar in the back room, and then he eventually goes to jail. And even the cops, when they're putting him in the car, he's like, I'm a veteran, and they're like, well, now you're going to jail.
Right, exactly.
And I'm not saying, it's not a comment on a broad stroke of police officers or whatever, but whenever you see someone coming down the street all tattered, they look disturbed, you eventually, most people just want to get out of the way, don't want to talk to them, whatever. People don't realize 25% of those people have been in war, and there's a reason why they're like that.
Right.
It's because they're damaged from their experience, and it's not a weakness, and this is the problem. In the military, it's still a stigma, where post-traumatic stress disorder is like, get over it, whatever. I mean, you hear that all the time, not only from people in World War II and Vietnam, but from this war, all the time. And that's wrong. These are men, they're human, and they're not weak whenever they have problems. They're not supermen going over there. They're flesh and blood.
Right.
And this is something that is a disconnect, I think, in our idea of patriotism.
I was reading a statistic, I want to say it's from Pew Research, and ironically, I just read it in an airplane, breezing through, right after I read your book. And it said that both folks that are relatives and non-relatives of vets returning from the Afghanistan and Iraqi combats say, I guess the average I would say is 74% of both non-relatives and relatives of these vets believe that the U.S. is not doing what we possibly could do to support our troops. And we don't even know how to define support our troops.
Yeah, we don't. That's the thing. It just becomes a slogan. Samson, in one of the passages, as you remember, he's talking to his caseworker, Robbie Dix, and he says, all these bumper stickers, all these T-shirts, this is commerce built on guilt. This is people going out, I'm going to make a bumper sticker, I'm going to make a lot of money, support our troops, because everyone supports our
who
troops.
Who doesn't? Exactly.
Exactly.
In
but
our
you
mind.
just, all right, yeah, I support our troops. Just saying that is just like saying, I like it when it's sunny or something. It's like, oh, yeah, that's obvious. Now, behind support our troops, how do you support our troops? Just by putting it on your car? Right. Like Samson says, they think some magic happens in our heads. And that's what a lot of them told me as well. They appreciate it. They certainly do. But they don't like it just to become some sort of cliche or some sort of niche people try and put themselves in, just to feel good, just to feel like they're doing something, while men and women are being killed and wounded and irrevocably damaged in war. So that was another point of mine to write this, to try and understand who you're supporting and what it means when they come back.
Right. We love to ask that pinnacle question, what is next in the shelf life of Mark? Is it perhaps another novel or a series, or did a song all of a sudden pop up like, I think I'm going to write this because it came out of the journey of writing this novel?
I'll be writing novels until I can't mentally or physically do it anymore. And my next novel should be, I'm working on it now. I've finished the second draft, and there'll probably be 2 more. And that is going to be entitled, working title.
Don't mark his words just yet.
It's going to be entitled Suit Wearing Man. And
sounds like a Beck song.
It does kind of.
Doesn't it?
I was told it sounds like that Rolling Stones song, Street Fighting Man.
There you go.
But it deals with immigration, actually. And it deals with the privileged in America who benefit from immigration. It deals with the underprivileged from Mexico who are trying to find their way into the middle class. And it deals with the opportunists in Mexico and America who try and take advantage of their dreams. That's about as much as I can say about it right now.
I think that's enough. I think I want a book ahead of time, and I'm certain that it'll be the next one that goes on most people's bookshelves. So.
Hope so.
Mark, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
This was really fun.
It
really was.
If people want some more information about Story of the Sand, they can go to your website.
Yeah.
As is www.storyofthesand.com.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's all right. We did it. We harmonized almost. That was beautiful.
Right.
But I look forward to having some emails flying through the door for you so people can
That'd be
comment
great.
on that. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us at Shelf Life. Again, I'm Kimberly Dykman, and we'll keep bringing you more and more fabulous folks, so stay tuned.